The one thing that hasn't changed about video, it still surprises me. Nothing builds celebrity, authority, trust, expertise faster than video.
All right, so as promised, I am here with an old friend, and we are talking a topic that I am passionate about, and he is an expert in today. Dr. Angus Pike from halfway around the world. We're connecting and talking video. Angus, how are you doing today?
Jeff, I'm happy and well. Thanks for having me today. I've been excited about this since we planned it a week or so ago.
I am super excited as well. You have a passion not only for chiropractic, health and healing, but also for marketing, and specifically what we're talking about today is video. And I'm going to kick right in with you. Why is video so important for the docs listening today?
Do you know what? I somehow got into chiropractic. One of the fantasies that I had was this whole idea that if I was just really good at what I did, if I just helped sick people get well, then that's all I would need to do. My business, I couldn't understand. I can remember it so, as someone of 22 years of age, I was young when I graduated. I couldn't understand why the masses wouldn't just come running to me. And we had good retention and good numbers and stuff like that, but every time I took my eye off the ball, every time I wanted to take a holiday, I couldn't bring other people in. So there was a lack of predictability in my practice. It was always a bit of stress there as well because I wasn't absolutely certain where the next new patient was going to come from. And so I wanted to find a real heart-centered way. I started to really look at marketing. Mostly, I was super disappointed. Everything seemed super pushy, sleazy. I didn't want to be cold calling people. I know lots of people love doing screenings. I wasn't one of those people that loved doing screenings. I made a video. It got seen by a bunch of people. One of the people that saw it happened to be a producer on a local television show. I then became a regular part of their morning television show. And I all of a sudden got this, wow, there's a way to go one-to-many, share a message, build a level of authority and expertise there too. And then I was off and running. So that's what kind of started it all. And that was about kind of 10 years ago. So it's been upwards and onwards from there as well. So
that's so great because you never know. Like we have a saying that, results follow actions. And it was that you took the action that then you started seeing the results and the opportunities form. And I guess talk a little bit about that transformation. How has video helped your business? How has it helped your practice? And how have you seen it evolve over the last 10 years?
Yeah. Do you know one of the first things in the early days of me doing this? So I had a couple of aha moments. One of them was a lady by the name of Therese who came in to see me as a result of the marketing that we were doing. And she had these, when patients come and see us and they say, oh yeah, I get migraines, but they don't, they get headaches. And they don't understand, they think a migraine is just a bad headache. Well, Teresa got migraines and she would almost be in them constantly, 2 or 3 a day. And as a result of these, 2 or 3 a week, as a result of these, she hadn't worked in the last 20 years. But she was positive and she didn't have sometimes that psychosomatic overlay that go with all of this kind of stuff too. And she had seen some of the stuff that we've done and she said, I didn't realise that chiropractic was an option for me. So she was in her mid-40s at that stage and tried everything. I mean, she'd been on crazy courses of experimental chemotherapy drugs to see if that would help.
Oh my gosh.
And wild. And I understand when you get to that level of frustration that, why you try these things there too. But long story short, we've all had these patients. 3 months later, her migraines are gone. She's back working again. She's better able to look after her son. And I thought, holy heck. It really moved me that she found me because of some of the marketing that we'd done. And I kind of felt a sense of obligation at that stage to better understand this. And it was at that stage then, Jeff, that I love chiropractic. Like I'm one of those people that had a problem. My identity is as a chiropractor too. But it was at that time there that I fell in love more with marketing than I did with chiropractic because I realised that I got to help other practitioners with this stuff. I've got to help them help more people. There's an easy way to do it. And video used to be, you would know this too, it used to be super complicated. I mean, getting a video from my Sony camcorder onto my computer was a freaking mission. Like it was so hard and took so much time. and then the internet over here in Australia is still terrible. Then to upload it up to YouTube, like it would take hours for me to upload a 5-minute video, like hours. And so when we look at the progression over it all now, my first really nice camera I bought was a Canon 5D Mark II. It was a bit, in terms of digital DSLR cameras shooting video, this one was kind of really quite revolutionary. But yet now my iPhone shoots kind of 4K video, it didn't shoot. So the progression in terms of how easy it is now, I was just teaching some people yesterday in terms of shoot it on your phone, here's the app to edit it, here's the app to kind of add the captions to the bottom, the borders to the top there. 5 minutes, you've shot a beautiful 4K video, uploaded it in another 5 minutes. So in 10 minutes, you've got this video up here. So the one thing that hasn't changed about video, it still surprises me, nothing builds celebrity, authority, trust, expertise faster than video. There's no other medium at the moment. Podcasts obviously massive and growing. You and I both have podcasts. I'm a huge fan of a podcast. But we were able to just experience so much more of the senses on a video than we are on a podcast. And particularly because as health practitioners, we're often showing things. If you wanted to just say, hey, listen, if you want to design how to set up your desk, you're stretching your back the wrong way, here's something to look about with your posture. Trying to explain that in a blog post or on a podcast is very difficult, but you can do that in less than 60 seconds on a video. And it's just, people say, like, what should I do with my video? I'm going, just be cool and helpful. Just ultimately, like the idea, if I want to give people one thing to do with your videos, is get your audience one step closer to the health outcome they're looking for. So who's your audience? Is it parents of kids with ear infections? Okay, how do you get them one step closer? Is it people suffering with sciatica? How do you get them one step closer? Whatever it is, if you do that consistently, like day in and day out, you'll build such massive amounts of authority. And do you know of Dean Jackson, a guy marketer, Dean Jackson?
I know the name, yeah.
He was the guy that literally invented the squeeze page. Okay, he was
yep.
He's the OG. He has this saying, and it fits so perfectly for us as chiropractors, Jeff. He talks about 5 mile famous. We don't need to be famous around the world. It's if we look at our patients, the vast majority of them come from that kind of 5 mile radius. Yeah. You post a video every week and you do that, creating the content that I just talked about before, and then maybe chuck 5 or 10, you don't have to spend hundreds, chuck $5 or $10 behind boosting it out to your local community, you'll be 5 mile famous. People are coming up to you in shops and saying, hey, doc, thanks for your video. That was super helpful. You'll start to build more know, like, and trust in your community. And I've got a saying that says the more people in your community that know you, like you, and trust you, the busier your practice will be. That's all there is to it.
That is very practical advice, very, very wise, and you know your stuff. And I'm gonna pitch a tough one at you right now, but I'm sure it's something that you deal with each and every week, which is docs that just sort of can't get out of the mud. So what are some of the most common mistakes that you see chiropractors making when shooting video? And it could be, you could go technical on this, you could go philosophical. I'll let you break it down how you see fit. What are those most common mistakes that docs are making out there as you interact with them?
Yeah. So let's deal with the first one, the fear of being on camera, and some of the perfectionism that needs to go with that. We have to realize that making videos is like any new skill. And I want to remind you of what it was like the first time you tried to deliver an adjustment and just how terrible we all were. I was. It took me 10 years to get good at it. So realize that you're not going to be great to begin with. But the caveat to that is this, is that the bad video that you make will always outdo the perfect one that you don't. There's some really nice things that have happened with video in terms of the progression with it over the last 10 years. And that is, you and I both like to make really lovely videos. I've seen your work. The production is great. The cameras are good. They're nice lenses. There's this depth of field. The audio is amazing. I appreciate all of that. But when you look through Facebook and BuzzFeed, and you can actually get the stats on what sort of videos are being watched and the most engagement, the kind of videos that are being watched most are selfie-style videos just with our iPhone. Okay, so all this great work that you and I are doing with lovely cameras, it doesn't mean anything to anybody, to most people. The most basic thing, so keep it really simple. We've had the conversation. The kind of video that you're going to make is a conversation I bet you've had with your patients hundreds, if not thousands of times. So be aware, first of all, be easy on yourself. It's a new skill. You'll get better at it with time. We're not making Hollywood films. This is not about us being Leonardo DiCaprio. It's okay if we stumble. There'll be numerous times in this short podcast that I will stumble, and we move on because that's what normal conversation looks like. Is occasionally we stop to search for our words. We expect that to kind of happen. It doesn't mean we shouldn't do a little bit of practice beforehand. So the first thing I want to let the audience know is you're not going to be great to begin with, and that's totally okay because you don't need to be great. The second big mistake that I see is that we try and share too much in our videos. You know, if there's a simple little thing, if we go back to this concept of, you know, I want to share with my patients 3 really simple things they can do that might ease their headaches without having to take some drugs. So I'm going to talk to them just, hey, listen, hydrate a little bit more, okay? How much water are you having from there too? I want to talk to you a little bit about your posture, particularly at your desk there. Okay, is your computer screen up at eye level height there? And then the third thing I want to talk about is, here's 3 foods that tend to be kind of headache creating. Now, what ends up kind of happening with that too, before we know it, we're going into depth about the suboccipital muscles and then C1 and then C2 alignment of those. That can actually create tension on the brainstem from there. It affects flow of cerebrospinal fluid up into the brain. That causes a level of inflammation there that can sometimes go, that just turned off. Like, we use big words, we get into concepts that are too complicated that we love as chiropractors. I mean, we love talking about sympathetic stress, the parasympathetic nervous system, vagal tone. We geek out on that stuff. We love it. But your audience just wants to know what they can do to ease their headaches, to maybe wake up tomorrow and start the day without that dreaded bloody headache. That's what they want to know. So we overcomplicate things. That's the second big mistake that we do in terms of the information. And then the third mistake that we tend to make there too, Jeff, is that consistency is the key. I mean, that's why your program works so great, is you go, let us do it for you. I'll plan it all out for you. Consistency builds trust. If I want, if I see something, and this happened to me just recently, I was looking through my feed of somebody who I thought could help me with some of the coaching in my business. Went, that looks really interesting. And then I kind of did the stalk that we all do to kind of follow this guy out there too. And he'd had like 3 posts in 18 months. And immediately, it was such a visceral response for me, the amount of trust that was lost. And I went, this is some Johnny-come-lately here too. There was not a back catalogue where I could build trust with this guy here as well. So this is the way that I look at marketing, is more like farming than this like hunting. In fact, our good friend Jason Deitch, I think, was the first who I heard him talk about that concept like that as well, that we've got to get the soil right. We plant trees, we fertilise the trees, we water, we get sunlight. The end result of this is that I can go out to that orchard at any time and grab fruit. It's there for me because I've got a back catalogue of content that I've shared with people that has built know, like, and trust. And the cool thing is, when you do that, you're very hard to catch. When you end up first place, it's relatively easy to get first place, but you're second to trying to overtake that. It's really hard there too. And so still, no chiropractors are doing this stuff. I promise you, okay? You can be the first in your community. If you catch this tidal wave, get to it. So they're the biggest mistakes that I see people making.
Those are so impactful. Consistency, we talk about it all the time, and really being able to overcome that fear and keeping it simple. I always say, putting the content in the right context. We know all the complexities. Our job as a teacher, a doctor, an educator, is to make it as easy as possible for our community, for our health tribe to understand. And talking about easy, what are some practical tips? How about some apps that you love? A lot of docs are like, what camera should I use? What mic should I use? You brought up an iPhone, which are so awesome. So give me a little rig rundown here. Talk about some gear that maybe docs just getting started should look at, maybe a favorite app or two to help things be easier for them.
Good. So your mobile device, if it's 3 years old or newer, is absolutely fine. Now, if it's an iPhone, great. If you're using an Android or something else, then stop buying an iPhone, okay? So. I've drunk the Kool-Aid, okay? Apple just releases things and I buy it. I don't know how they got inside my brain, but they have. So any of your mobile devices are great there if it's a few years old or newer there too. I do want you to be careful about your audio. If there's one thing that even our newer mobile devices sacrifice is audio. So it just means if you're shooting a video, don't have your phone much more than an arm length away from you. If you're one side of the room, the phone's the other side there too, the audio is going to be all muffled. It's not going to sound great. And audio is disproportionately important when it comes to video. We'll watch video we won't watch video with really bad audio. But if the video's not so crystal clear, a bit fuzzy there as well, but the audio's great, we'll watch that. Okay, I mean, we'll listen to a podcast, audio only, but we won't watch stuff with no sound there too. So your mobile device is fine. There are two apps which I really love. Villo, VLLO, is the editing app that I like. So there are free versions of both of these apps. The paid versions give you a bit of extra, but if you didn't get the paid version, don't stress about it at all. What I like about Villo is it will let you wrap your videos, add a border top and bottom. The border at the top there lets you give your audience a bit of a sneak peek about what they're going to learn in the video. So remember, they're scrolling through, they're doing it on their mobile device. Most people on the social media platforms on the mobile device. So we need to make sure that it's optimized for a mobile device. So when we add the borders on top and bottom, Jeff, it actually takes up a little bit more screen space there as well. So it'll stand out more, particularly if they're bright colors with the contrast text there. And we put a simple headline on it, 3 ways to ease your headaches without drugs. That would catch somebody's attention if they're waking up every morning with headaches there as well. And things like Villo 2 might allow you to add a little bit of text to the screen. As a general rule, gang, I want you to think about there being some movement on the screen every 30 seconds. So that might be some text, point 1, hydrate, point 2, posture, point 3, foods, they'll come up there as well. I might be moving a little bit or shooting it in slightly different sections there as well. So Villo lets you do things like that. So it's VLLO. I don't know if you call it Villo. That's how I say it. And so Villo's a really great app for that. When I've finished adding my borders and my text on there as well, I export it straight into another app called Mix Captions. So MIX Captions. And that has you add the subtitles down the bottom. So I mentioned before, they're all watching it on their mobile device. 80% of them have the sound turned off because they're goofing around at work. They're standing in the line at the bank. They're on the loo. It's just not okay to have the sound going most of the time there too. And so if they can read along with you, it'll have them be much more like the engagement rates for videos with subtitles versus not. It's just a deal. You're crazy not to do it. It really makes a heck of a difference there as well. So Mixed Captions will give you a bot generated, so it's AI generated captions. They're really good now. So they're about 90 to 95% accurate, even with my kind of Neanderthal Aussie accent. The only one they're not great with, and I chuckled about this too, is I coach a lot of docs from around the world there too, is that they're terrible with a Kiwi accent. So everything else is fine. So you could comfortably not correct them at all. There'll be some mistakes. They like to refer to me as Angus Dyke as opposed to Angus Pike, so I do correct that one. But if it's a 90-second or 2-minute video, it'll take you 90 seconds or 2 minutes to correct it, okay? It's not going to take a long time for you to fix those words up there too. And the captions, it'll give you a bunch of free minutes to begin with, but after that, it's like 10 cents a minute. So it'll cost you nothing to get these done, and it's instantaneous. So Villo for your editing, in case you need to trim off the start or you're mucked up and you needed to join some sections together, add your borders on there, maybe add some text to the screen, add a bit of background music. You can all do that from inside of Villo. And then Mix Captions for you to add some subtitles down the bottom. Shoot it on your phone, use those 2 apps, and you've just gone to gold standard, gang. That's all you need.
I think that is awesome. I'm going to drop those links down in the show notes. And additionally, I want to drop one other link, and that we've only scratched the surface as we're coming to a close in this episode. So I'm definitely going to ask you to come back because there are so many different rabbit holes that I want to dive down to and ultimately share the expertise that you've built and grown through doing it over that last decade. But for the docs that can't wait for the follow-up episode, that want to learn more, and really want to be able to coordinate how to do video better. They want to accelerate their results. How can docs learn about you? We'll drop these links down below. But how can docs learn more about how you can help them get going with video, optimize their video, and ultimately get better results?
So the first entry in this, maybe head on over to anguspike.com, and then you can get a link to the podcast. The podcast is called the Marketing Your Practice Podcast. There's 170 episodes talking about heart-centered marketing for us as health practitioners. Lots of them talk about video strategies. If you went back from step number 1 all the way we're up to now, you'd know just about everything that you'd need to know about where do I come up with content, how often should I be sharing it, how long do my videos need to be, the best way to do a call to action, a number of different content creation strategies. If you want a little bit more support with regards to that, I have a course called Video Influence. It's now in its 3rd incarnation, so it's called Video Influence 3.0 there too. I'll teach you everything. That's a master's degree in making heart-centered video that will have more people in your community know you, like you, and trust you. It takes you through the kind of before, what equipment do I need, how do I choose my background, all those kind of things, to during, where do we come up with content. I teach a framework there which I call a share framework, Jeff, which is S for stop the scroll, H to come up with a great hook there too, how to acknowledge and build authority, real value, how do I come up with that, and then how to encourage the next step after our video there also. And then finally, what do we do with our videos afterwards? One of the things I'm passionate about, there are so many agencies out there telling us that we need to have a budget of, anywhere between $500 and $1,000 a month for our Facebook ads, our Instagram ads. Gang, you don't. $10 a week, you'll knock it out of the park. If you've got this farming strategy, like I'm talking about before, and you're prepared to be consistent with regards to that too. And then when you join that course there too, the first sort of 4 weeks of it, you get one-on-one access to me. I'm here like your own kind of marketing support person. Email me every day. Twice a week we can kind of get on calls and stuff like that too. So there's 2 ways that people can kind of join in. If they need a free way through the Marketing You Practice podcast, or if you want some hand-holding, come and join me inside of Video Influence. I would love to kind of help you have more impact and influence income in your community as well.
I'd encourage everybody to check out what you have going on. You brought up so many of the key points that we talk about every week on this podcast, which is the farming rather than the hunting. You don't have to spend a ton advertising when you build a health tribe of people who learn to learn from you, keeping things simple, and ultimately heart marketing, which is patient-centered, understanding where people are at, helping them take the next step in their health journey. Angus, you have been an awesome guest. I'm looking forward to the next episode because I already have a list of about 5 things based on what you said just today that I want to dive into and have you really explain, because video is such a powerful medium. You have such a great amount of expertise with it, and you're a great guy to talk to. So Angus, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, buddy. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to round 2 when we can make that happen.
Sounds good.
Hey, what's going on? If you loved that video, be sure to subscribe to this channel. The Evidence-Based Chiropractor puts out videos all the time at the intersection of marketing and research, showing you how to grow your practice while also growing your knowledge base. So if you liked it, be sure to comment down below or hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.